Paul with Catfish Weekly, and today I have with me, of course, Lyle Stokes of Black Horse Custom Rides, and we've got Chris, the Mr. Fudd Wallace, and we have with us also Brent Riddle from Chillicothe, Missouri, and we're going to talk about tournaments today. And Brent, I'm kind of curious, when did you start fishing tournaments and why?
Oh, got into it about, I'm gonna guess, years ago. Just for fun, meeting new people, going to new places mainly. I have a little different outlook on tournaments than most people. I look at it as a trip. I mean, basically with a chance to, get some of my money back for that trip. I just like going fishing new areas, new bodies of water. That's how you learn. You just keep fishing different types of structure, different types of water. I just got into it to learn more for myself. Mainly.
Did anybody take you out for the first time and that really got you going with it, or did you just hear about a tournament and show up, or just?
A friend of mine, Jimmy Yao, Doc Yao, ran the one down here at Waverly. I kind of, I started. I think the first one I probably fished was one of his on the Missouri River. I may have fished one of his. Maybe didn't really start really heavy fishing tournaments till, like I say, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Traveling anyway. But just that, and the new people you meet. When everybody gets together, everybody's talking, catfishing community, for the most part, everybody gets along. Everybody, not afraid to share information and, have a good time. You got the ones, you know what I'm talking about. Just everything's always drama. So, but for the most part, everybody, we have a good time.
So was you really nervous the first tournament you entered?
I don't get nervous at all. I do work myself up sometimes if I'm having trouble pre-fishing, not catching very many, because I know there's too much luck involved. I mean, there's skill involved, but there's been too many times that I went out pre-fishing and just absolutely slayed them. Just wore them out. You go out the day of the tournament and nothing happens. Exact same spot where you caught all the fish the day before. So I know that it could be, either or. It could happen, and so it don't. Like I say, I'm there to have a good time and talk to everybody, and looking forward to the trip. The tournament's just a bonus for me.
Do you believe in sore lipping the fish for? A certain amount do you pre-fish a certain amount of time before a tournament, or do you always pre-fish?
I always pre-fish, yes. But I won't, if I'm catching fish in an area, I'm gone. I mean, if we get a bite, and if I know there's very few spots to catch big fish, I'll tie bait on. I won't even use a hook. I'll just get the pull downs. I'll make sure it's tied on good where they'll just hammer the rod. Sometimes, you can get an idea of what size of fish hit. I have done that before, especially if I'm in an area where I don't have very many spots to go. I'll do that. Most of the time, I actually use a hook though, and I'll catch 1, 2 in that spot, and it depends on how quick, how fast I'm there. If I got to sit, I don't sit anywhere more than 30 minutes. I never have. Even if it's an anchor situation, if that fish ain't, but to me, 30 minutes is gone.
Yeah, like would you? when you do pre-fish, do you not pre-fish like for a certain amount of days before a tournament? Like if it's only 3 days till the tournament, will you still go pre-fish, or do you like to do it within 3 days of the tournament, or like what's your time frame on pre-fishing and tournaments for tournaments?
If I haven't ever been there before, I really like to go 3 to 4 days ahead of time, um, and not necessarily just to pre-fish. That's finding fresh bait. I'm firm believer in fresh bait. Um, so maybe just like the last trip to Owensboro, I literally pre-fished about 4 hours out of 3 days. The rest of it was looking for fresh bait. Drove all the way to Tennessee, down to Pickwick to get fresh bait, and we drove a lot of extra miles just trying to get fresh skipjack. So I was there 3 days to pre-fish and only got to pre-fish about 4 or 5 hours, and like I say, we just, luck plays a big part of it. It's just, you're drifting, the longer you can keep your rods in the water, the better chance you're going to have. I see all these guys running up and down the river. They might pass me 5 times in a day. I'm like, how are you going to catch any fish with your rods in the boat? I mean, that, I might drift 4 miles in one stretch. Just leave my rods in the water. And they don't know if there's fish here or not, but how you going to know it if you don't go over it? I don't do a lot of running.
Yeah.
Now, we was talking a little bit before we started the live deal. You mentioned there was a lot of tournaments you like to fish, and which trails? Go over the trails again that you were talking about a little bit ago.
Well, like I say, I don't fish one any more than the other. If I had to pick one to go to every year, it'd definitely be Monsters on the Ohio. I mean, for the amount of boats and the area, that's the best tournament I ever go to, and I've been to them. East Grand Forks 4 or 5 years. I've been, I fished a lot of Cabela's, Bass Pro, Catfish Chasers, Brad's Kansas City Cats. I fish a lot of them, but Brad always puts on a good tournament. We always have good guys. Always have a good time on them. Um, the smaller ones like the one man, Brad and Aaron, seems like they spend a little more time, making sure everything runs smooth. I've been to some of the bigger ones that just an absolute cluster. I mean, they take the time to set it up, make sure it's going to run right, not just they really care. They want to make sure there's no dead fish, and some of the other guys, they'll just run you through like a bunch of cows in a sale barn. I mean, don't even look at fish or nothing. You're just gone.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Monsters on the Ohio, Aaron really, he's put a lot of his own time and energy into it, and he really, you can tell with how that tournament's ran that, he's, there's always things that can be better, but he's already got it down to a really good, smooth ran tournament that, he covers a lot of things, like you said, with the fish being healthy, and they have the DNR on site to inspect them and help with data collection for the conservation efforts on the Ohio River. As far as getting boats in and out of the water, getting them, up on the stage to weigh in, and everything the way he has it set up is just, it does make it probably the best tournament I think I've ever been to as well.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I've been all over too, and heads and tails. That's one of the best run tournaments, and Aaron's got his heart and his mind in the right spot with trying to take care of the fish and do all the stuff, and being in his position a few times. It's really hard to get all that done, and he has really made that the tournament to fish from my perspective. As a tournament fisherman going out to looking for a place to go to a tournament, if I only got to fish one tournament a year, that'd probably be it.
Yep, and of course, Lyle, never heard anything. I've never had the chance to fish one of his tournaments. Not because I don't want to. It's just it never works out. I've been down to that area fishing a lot. Would love to go down there because I always have good luck down there. But I'm hoping this summer, I get to go down there and go around, give him a shot.
We'd sure like to have you.
I want to fish one of Lyle's tournaments too. I said last year I was going to get down there and fish one, but I never did.
We'll be glad to have you guys, and we don't fish as some of our tournaments. Cindy and I don't fish depending on the amount of people that show up, because sometimes it's just not feasible us to fish and run the tournament both. But we try to fish as many of them as we can. But our main tournament stuff is in the outlying areas like Brent's talking about, and Brad over in Kansas City puts on a really good show. We went over and fished his Waverly tournament last year. It was a great turnout and a good bunch of people over there. And the Cat's Incredible tournament up in North Dakota was just simply a blast. Old Doc and his brother there, a hoot, and everybody that runs that is just outstanding. They did a really good job. But like I say, Aaron, I think he's got it going on down there.
Yeah. Brent, you were talking about you think fresh bait is key. In tournaments is for what types of water, say do you fish any lake tournaments? When you fish lake tournaments, what bait do you try to bring? When you're fishing a river tournament, what bait do you try to bring? What do you like to have on hand? What's your favorite bait?
For me, if all possible, I use the bait from that water. If it's shad, if I go north and it's shad or alewives or, carp even up in the lake, I really try to get bait from, I always take bait, but man, I'll work my butt off to try to get bait from that body of water, and fresh. Down south, of course, it's skipjack. It's whatever the main source of food is in that body of water, that's what I try to go after.
Do you ever use moon eye, or do you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I know moon eye works really well. A lot. Take Milford, shad or moon eye works really well out there. And if you can get moon eye, there's a lot of them in there. Definitely, I'll definitely try to get moon eye. I know it works well over, on the Mississippi. When I go there and fish, I take the time to go try to get some. But yeah, in the areas where there's moon eye, East Grand Forks, there's a lot of them up there. That's probably the best bait besides creek chubs, up there on the Red River, in my opinion.
You say creek chubs?
Yep, creek chubs or suckers.
Yep.
I'm curious how many different fishing licenses you got to apply for a year.
Well, last year I went through 15 different states going fishing. I think I fished 6.
We hit 8. That's just pretty common for guys that do much traveling. And and if you're going to hit the bigger tournaments, that's what you got to do. Is you got to travel a little bit. And like you saying earlier, for us, it's like a mini vacation. We get to go out and get away from the house a little bit and fish some new water, meet some new people, and that's what makes the fun of it.
Yep. Go down, see everybody. Some of these guys you only get to see, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe some of them, once or twice. But most of the guys out there, are not afraid to share information. I mean, they're probably not going to give you GPS coordinates, but, a lot of the guys, if you walk up to them and ask them, what was you using for bait, was you on the channel, was you on the ledge? Most of the guys are going to tell you. I mean, I know there's a few out there that kind of give everybody the cold shoulder when they ask, but, for the most part, even, heck, most guys just don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent, how much of your fishing is drifting? Is the majority of it drifting?
Here, real quick, I want to do the code.
I'm gonna say other than the Missouri River around home, I'm drifting, and that's only because then I try to bottom bounce. But for the most part, I'm moving. I mean, I very seldom throw an anchor.
Do you think that water temperature plays a factor in drift fishing?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it depends on that's kind of iffy. That's kind of a trick question because it depends on what body of water. I have still caught nice fish drifting in cold water on in shallow areas in bigger lakes. So it can be done. It's it just depends on the depth. You got to just move a lot slower when it's cold.
Right. Now, we was talking a while ago about going up East Grand Forks, and up there is a channel cat area. Do you fish a channel cat tournament differently than when you traditionally fish in our areas? We're fishing for blues because let's face it, that's what wins the tournaments the majority of the time. But now, when you go to East Grand Forks and fish, that's the largest channel cat tournament I'm aware of, and it's a great fishery on the Red River. But do you fish that, approach it any different than you do when you're fishing, say, St. Louis or Jeff City or somewhere?
Yeah, and the only reason is because the current is about a half a mile an hour up there.
Yeah, something like that.
I've got two 72-inch drift socks that I throw out the back to catch current to drag me down the river so I can bounce, so I can bottom bounce back. I do anchor up there sometimes, but that tournament, of course, my opinion on that tournament.
I do.
I probably won't be going back to that one. I got too big a boat to be up there on that river. That's, as well as I do, that 120 boats on a big creek around here, it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I got a few little extra dings in mine.
Yeah.
Is there a rig that you like to use more than others, like a 3-way or Carolina, or?
I 3-way most of the time.
3-way, and then just throw a mono leader down with the anchor on, or not anchor, but anchor on the bottom.
Yep.
You use braid or mono main line?
I use a 150-pound braid on my main line.
150-pound braid, dang. And I thought I was overdoing it with a 100-pound braid.
A lot of people think I overdo it, but there's been too many times that I've pulled in big fish, or like Lyle said, in channel cat tournaments especially. I may bring in, a whole Christmas tree with the channel cat still in it. I mean, if you had 80 pounds, more than likely it's going to break. There's just been too many times. If I could break 300-pound test, I'd use it. I mean, there's been too many times that I've brought fish in with it, still attached, where otherwise I think it would have broke.
Okay.
Wow.
What kind of hooks do you like to use, size and type?
For recreational fish, what I call recreational fish, just out fishing, I use Eagle Claw 2022s and a 10-aught. If I'm tournament fishing, I use laser sharp L197s, and that's the only two hooks, other than going bigger or smaller, that I hardly. That's basically the only two hooks I own.
What type of hook is that? Is that a circle, octopus circle, Kale?
Yeah, circle hook. That's an L197 right there. That's a 10-aught.
That Eagle Claw. What do those run?
That's laser sharp, and that's the. These are a little expensive because they're salt water. They've got what they call sea guard on there. They won't rust. I think they come in a package of 3, and I think they're about $6. I think they're close to $2 a piece.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But
that's some money.
You know, of course, they're one of my sponsors, but I can assure you that I have such good luck with those. If I wasn't sponsored by them, I'd still be using
He doesn't have to worry about losing them with a 150-pound braid and pulling up Christmas trees. That's the reason why. That's the reason why he uses it, because he doesn't want to lose any of them hooks.
I don't lose them very often.
I want to make sure I throw that up where it could be seen. That's this week's code for the
Move it over a little bit.
giveaway.
There you go. Nope, the other way. Don't need to see your face in there with it.
Well, I'm trying to watch the screen. Yeah. Anyway,
Brett, I'll tell you a story. I was fishing with Ricky Bracken and Harold Dodd, and it's two of my favorite people in the world. Old Harold, he's just so much fun, not a wealth of knowledge. And he keeps a set of bolt cutters in his boat, and Ricky catches a big old blue, and while he's not paying attention, Harold reached out them bolt cutters and cut his $3 Gamakatsu hook off, and Rick just was screaming and carrying on because he cut that hook. But his thought is if it gets hooked all the way through, if you cut the hook, you don't stress the fish near as bad. And there's nothing funnier than watching Ricky Bracken scream around because Harold's whacking his hook with that bolt cutter. It's just hilarious.
Yep.
so you, I guess you'd prefer to fish river tournaments than opposed to lakes?
No, I'm a lake person. I like fishing big lakes. I mean,
Now,
or
go ahead.
or a river like the Ohio that's basically a big lake with just a little bit of current. I mean, I don't like fighting the current. It just wears me out. Down there on the Mississippi, bumping all day. I run the trolling motor and fighting current and fighting getting hung up. I mean, I just seem to just drift all day and just slow and easy.
So let me ask you a question, Brent. When you're talking about places like the Ohio River or Truman or Lake of the Ozarks, where there a lot of times is no current, and when we're drifting, we're taking the trolling motor and we're trying to pull forward while the current's pushing us back, and we're using the trolling motor to slow us down. When you're fishing a lake or a still water area, are you actually dragging your bait and not drifting?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Long line dragging.
And how far out of the back of the boat are you trying to get? Because, a lot of times when we're drifting a river that's got some current in it, we're 100, 150 feet behind the boat.
Yep. That's pretty close.
And now, do you think that those fish actually notice that boat going by and they are more effective, more likely to bite once the boat is past them and the shadow of the boat or the noise or something? Do you think that affects the bite as you go past it?
Of course, in shallow water, Milford Lake, for example, it's great big huge, it's big area out there, hundreds of acres you can drift, 12 to 15, 18, 20 feet. That place, it seems like you can't hardly catch anything suspended drifting. I mean, it's, everything's long lining, but you get down Pickwick, Wilson, you can catch them suspended. I mean, just, hanging straight below the boat. 25, 30, 40 foot.
I think I remember either reading or seeing somewhere that, like, if it's a shallow enough area between the boat and where the fish are on the bottom, actually when the fish scatter, they go out and they end up coming right back into where they were at. They just scatter out, come right back in. So if they did that, that would make sense that, the boat goes over them, they scatter out, come back in, then the bait comes right by them, But yeah. I think it has to be a certain, longer, a good amount of depth to really get some fish to jump out of there. Or to not, a shallow, if it's shallower, they'll do it, and then if it's deeper, they probably don't do it as much.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, there's a couple of guys trying to get on and can't get on. If you could jump on the Facebook page there and try to get them straightened out. I don't know what to tell them.
Can't get on.
They said they can't get this show live. So you got your schedule all figured out for where you're going this season, Brent?
I've got some of it. No, I play a lot of it by, just, I got a lot of things going on, so I don't try to plan out too far ahead. For sure, I know I'm getting ready to go to Texas. I'm going to go fish at Cabela's tournament in Texas. Of course, I'll be fishing 3 of Brad's that I know of, probably 5 of them if it works out. Definitely going to Monsters on the Ohio. I'm going to try to get down and fish a couple of yours. I work every other weekend, so I'm kind of limited.
What I know that you was down here visiting with me the other day and brought one of your fishing partners with you. How many fishing partners do you usually have in a year fishing tournaments?
I think I fished with 4 last year, but basically whoever's off and whoever wants to go. Of course, Terry Cook, he tries to go to as many of them with me as possible, but if he can't make it or something else, well, I'll find somebody else to go.
Right. I knew that you had more than one, and a lot of that does depend on people's work schedules and different things. Because from my perspective, there's very few of us I can't make a living catfishing. So, of course, Cindy and I fish all our tournaments together basically. But I knew that you had different guys that you fished with.
Yeah, if they got a thick enough billfold, I'll take anybody. It's not cheap, you know that.
No, it's not. It costs a lot of money to fish tournaments, and one of the things that has impressed me about you is if people ever see you at a tournament, they should come up and check your boat out, because everything has a place, everything's put away, kept nice, clean, neat. It's just amazing because tournaments actually get hectic at times, and things get thrown around and moved around and put around, and every time I see your boat, it's just spotless, and it looks really nice. And for guys that are out looking for sponsorship, if they would take a look at some of the stuff like you have, they'd understand what guys that are in sponsorship position are actually looking for.
Yeah, it helps. It really does. I mean, if you have a spot for, say, your fish grips, you get a big one on, or you don't have to go searching for them. You caught the last big one, you just give them a chuck out of the way. I mean, put them back where you found them. I always keep, rigs retied, hanging here on the rod. I always keep 2 spare rods. The minute I break one off, I'm sitting there tying another one. As soon as I get it repainted, put back in the water, I'm retying my spares. I got a rod ready to. If you ain't got bait in the water, you're just yourself.
That's exactly right.
The more time you can have bait in the water, the better off you are.
What do you think about day versus night tournaments?
I like day ones better myself. I just, the whole safety factor of it. On the lakes, it don't bother me that bad, but I don't like running the Missouri River, or the Mississippi that much in the dark, just because I've seen things that come down it in the daytime, alone, sitting backwards watching the whole time, and, you look up and there's a barge with no lights on whatsoever. That happened last year. Spotlight on, straight at you, and you're coming down the river silent as hell, and all of a sudden, this guy put a car up in front of me. With no lights.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay. I think somebody just got flashed.
I first
because his face is red as a beet.
Cindy and I really like fishing nights. We do a lot of fishing locally here at night, but you're right, and I feel that way too. Now, we used to usually have a couple of night tournaments, but I didn't schedule any this year, and some of the guys are kind of sounding off a little bit about it, but because of the heat, and you can fish at night, and it is a lot cooler. But I've noticed when we went to fish Brad's tournament over in Waverly last year, normally if we'd have been fishing someplace I was more familiar with, I would have done a lot more moving around. And I basically didn't because I was not familiar enough with the water and the water conditions that I felt comfortable about moving around and on a cloudy, dark night.
Yeah, and there's too many guys. I've been on too many big lakes where guys think they think their GPS is a key to a ticket to go wide open in the dark with no lights on. I mean, just because they got GPS, but I've seen too many guys just running wide open, no lights, 50 mile an hour down the lake, and I don't care for it.
Okay, guys, I got a question here for you, Brent, from Jim Perry. Uh, about preserving skipjacks, he understands that he needs to use lots of ice and keep them cold until you start to do the preserving process, which is his question. What is the best way to preserve them to guarantee freshness?
I go catch my own skipjack early in the spring. I take a cooler with me with ice, and I throw them right on the ice immediately. I mean, as soon as I catch them, they're on the ice, and they don't leave ice till they get vacuum sealed and put in the freezer. And that's all. I might catch 50 or 100, go vacuum seal them, and it's always as quick as possible. I mean, the quicker you can get them vacuum sealed and froze, that's the way I do it. Some people add salt to them. I don't. I just make sure they're vacuum sealed and kept on ice the whole time. Because that skipjack goes soft in a hurry. I mean, them things. Of course, everybody knows 3 flops in the boat are dead. I mean, they lose blood really quick. I mean, the more you can keep that in the bag with them and keep them on ice, the lot better you are.
We take a vacuum sealer with us, and we go after them. We vacuum seal them, put them on ice right then and there, and when you come back home, and since then we've actually bought a small freezer, and I've got a generator, and they'll be vacuum sealed, put in the freezer, and brought back that way from now on.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Brent, would you? I like to talk about the conservation part that tournament anglers play. As far as keeping the fish alive ourselves, what does your live well have in it, or what do you do to help keep fish alive during the tournaments?
I have 2 recirculating pumps. I have a freshwater fill pump, and then I have also a pump that pumps water out that's on a float system. So if I get 2 big fish in there, I just turn it on to on. I mean, I just let it run full bore, just recirculating 100% water all the time. If I've got a trailer very far, I got an oxygen tank and a stone in the live well. I'll turn my oxygen on. As soon as I get out of the water, the oxygen comes on. If anybody's ever seen me try to get fish out of the live well, especially down at Monsters, I had them fish in there and running it all day, and I dropped a big fish twice. Could not hold on to them. I mean, sometimes it's, and it really works. I talked to Daryl and Jason Massengill. He recommended I get this the 1,200 gallon per hour pump, because my problem was I could pump it in, and I actually put another 1-inch drain in it, and I couldn't get rid of the water fast enough. So he said he had this float system, on a pump that actually pumped the water back out, and I did that, and now my live well just maintains that certain level. I can pump it in, but I can get rid of it a lot faster than I can pump it in. So that float system, it works great.
You never have any problems? Have you ever lost a fish, or do you put salt in your water, or?
I don't. I never run salt. I lost fish. I have not lost a fish since I've set this up this way. I lost 2 fish the very first time I fished the Monsters tournament. They were small fish, and they looked almost dead when I pulled them in the boat. I don't know if something was wrong with them or what, but I went with this setup, and I've been doing really good.
And would you think that for the most part, from the other tournament anglers you see, a lot of us put a lot of time and money and effort into our live wells. Would you agree with that, or do you try
You
to
know,
help help people with that as well, or?
I would. I mean, anybody wants any information on what I got, I'm, like I say, the system that I've got, Daryl and Jason has, dang good and well, them guys put a lot of big fish in their live wells, so, if they're not having any troubles, that's how I learned, okay, if these guys ain't losing fish, then, they've got to have the system. So, I called Daryl, he told me what he had, so I went and got it and haven't had any trouble since. I mean, nobody wants to lose fish, whether you're in a tournament or, if you're just putting them in there to take pictures later. A lot of guys do that. For the tournament, you damn sure don't want to lose them. So, it works. I mean, of course, the more water you got, the better off you are. Unless you're, a lot of guys will, keep just fill it up at the ramp, or put the fish saver liquid, stuff in it. That, and good luck with that. I've never done it, but I know guys that are able to do that, put ice in there with them, and keep them that way. But it works for me, so that's what I'll keep until something changes.
Yeah, I think tournament anglers have come a long way with the information that we've shared about keeping fish alive and how to do it and everything. So I think that like a lot of commercial fishermen and things like to throw the tournament anglers as part of a problem of killing a lot of trophy fish as well. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Like I tell a lot of people lately, I see almost every person at a tournament. If I see something in their live well that just isn't right, that's killing fish, I try to help them out. And I think that it's not even happened, but maybe one time out of, I fished 25 tournaments last year, and I didn't see hardly any dead fish go, let go or anything. I know things happen with foul hooks and things like that, but for the most part, live wells have evolved. We've all been real well at informing each other on what keeps a fish alive, what helps, keep them, healthy, and what doesn't. And a lot of guys now I've heard have even said that, they'll be out in a tournament, have a fish, they just can't seem to triage back to health, and they'll put it back in the water. They won't even keep it anymore. Whether that fish will win them a tournament or not, it ain't worth it.
Well, if it's dead, it ain't gonna count anyway. So you're better off to put it back, and hopefully it makes it.
Yeah.
I agree. That's I'm thinking the last 5 or 6 years we've been doing the Twisted Cat tournaments. I think there's been 2 dead fish brought in. The guy didn't even try to check them in. He tried to give them away. Now last year Danny Southland did have one. He had 2 giant fish in a live well, and one of them's actual pectoral fin jabbed into another, and it was bleeding profusely. And we turned it loose, and it swam away. But it's got to make you wonder if that fish survived or not.
Yeah.
Bruce. All right. Well, I think that's pretty well it. See next week. Oh, I forgot. What are we doing next week?
I think that might be with Doc Lang, maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the subject was, but
Here, I'll tell you here real quick here, real quick. Yeah, everyone starts out new.
yep.
That'll be a good subject. Brent, we'd like to thank you for coming on and being with us tonight. It's great to have you here, and I know a lot of people that know who you are, and it was just wonderful that you had joined us tonight on our little show.
Yep, no
Definitely
problem.
appreciate it. So with that, take care, and until next week, we'll catch you next Sunday at 6:30.